The morning sunlight filtered through the high, arched windows of Lecture Hall 17 at Metroplex Intergalactic University, casting geometric patterns across the diverse array of students assembled for Professor Marcus Webb's renowned xenobiology course. The university, established 15 years after Earth's first official contact with the Galactic Council, had become the premier institution for interspecies education in the Sol system. Professor Webb, a tall, lean man with salt and pepper hair and perpetually amused eyes, leaned against his desk at the front of the hall. His tweed jacket, an affectation he maintained despite the availability of more advanced fabrics, bore the elbow patches of academic tradition. Behind him, holographic projections of various planetary ecosystems rotated slowly, showcasing evolutionary patterns across the known galaxy. And that concludes our overview of convergent evolution across oxygen-rich worlds, Webb said, dismissing the hovering diagrams with a wave of his hand. Questions before we move to our next unit? A ripple of movement caught his attention near the back of the hall. 3 exchange students, representatives of distinctly different planetary systems, had been whispering among themselves throughout the lecture. Webb had noticed their growing restlessness over the past few weeks. Perhaps our visiting scholars would care to share their thoughts with the rest of us, Webb suggested, his voice carrying an edge of challenge beneath its cordial tone. The trio exchanged glances. Before the most confident among them rose Crix, an Aquarian, balanced on 4 tentacle-like lower limbs, while his upper appendages gestured expressively. His gelatinous body, contained within a specialized moisture suit, glistened under the classroom lights. Professor Webb, Crix began, his translator module converting the clicks and burbles of his native speech into crisp English. We've been discussing the limited scope of Earth's predatory species. 3 weeks of study, and we've yet to encounter anything truly formidable by galactic standards. Webb's eyebrows rose slightly. Is that so? The second exchange student, Xena, unfurled her iridescent wings in a display of mild agitation. A lepidopter from the Altair system. Her exoskeleton shimmered with bioluminescent patterns that shifted with her emotions, currently displaying a pulsing orange indicative of intellectual excitement. What Crix means, Xena explained, her voice melodic through the translator, is that while Earth's evolutionary patterns are fascinating, your apex predators seem quaint compared to what we've evolved alongside. No offense intended, Professor. The third student, Vorak, remained seated, a crystalline Luxarian whose silicon-based biology gave him a prismatic appearance. He merely tilted his angular head in agreement. His voice, when it emerged, held the resonant quality unique to his species. The statistical analysis supports this conclusion, Vorak added. Based on mass, neurological complexity, hunting efficiency, and lethal capacity, Earth's predators rank significantly below the median galactic standard. A murmur spread through the human students in the class, some looking offended, others curious. Webb observed the exchange with practiced patience, waiting for the whispers to subside before responding. An interesting hypothesis, he finally said, straightening from his relaxed posture. Perhaps you'd care to elaborate on these superior predators from your respective worlds. Crix immediately expanded his chest sack, an Aquarian gesture of pride. The Leviathan crushers of Aquaria's western depths grow to the size of your Earth whales. But unlike your passive filter feeders, they possess prehensile hunting tentacles capable of detecting electrical impulses from 50 kilometers away. They can coordinate attacks in swarms of hundreds, communicating through pressure waves imperceptible to most species. Impressive, Webb acknowledged, tapping notes into his tablet. And you, Xena? The lepidopter's wings fanned slowly, her markings shifting to a deep indigo of cultural pride. The shadow wings of my homeworld hunt in the perpetual twilight of our upper atmosphere. They can remain motionless for months, suspended on thermal currents, before dropping at supersonic speeds to pierce the skulls of prey with hollow proboscises. They inject digestive enzymes that liquefy neural tissue in seconds. She paused, her antenna quivering. They are so feared that my species developed spaceflight technology largely to escape their hunting range. Webb nodded thoughtfully, his expression revealing nothing of his inner thoughts. And the Luxarian contribution to our impromptu catalog of terrors? Vorak's crystalline surface refracted light as he shifted position. The diamond claw packs of Luxaria Prime hunt through quantum entanglement. Physically unremarkable by appearance, their true danger lies in their hive mind. Once they select prey, they coordinate through quantum-linked neurons, anticipating escape routes before the prey has consciously decided upon them. They've been known to pursue targets across continental divides, relaying the hunt from pack to pack until the quarry is exhausted. The human students now looked distinctly uncomfortable. Webb surveyed the room, noting the changed atmosphere, before breaking into an unexpected smile. "Well then," he said, clapping his hands together with sudden enthusiasm. "I believe this calls for a change to our scheduled curriculum." He swept his tablet up, issuing a rapid series of commands. The classroom displays flickered, showing a new agenda. Field trip," Webb announced. "Tomorrow morning, 800 hours, Metroplex Zoo, Northeast entrance. Mandatory attendance for all xenobiology majors. Highly recommended for our exchange students." His eyes glinted with something that might have been mischief. "I believe it's time we address these misconceptions about Earth's quaint predators firsthand." As the class dispersed with excited chatter, the three alien students remained behind, exchanging uncertain glances. "Is this some form of human educational ritual?" Vorak asked his companions. "Perhaps," Xena replied, her wings folding tightly against her back. "Though I detect a certain anticipation in the professor's demeanor that suggests we may have miscalculated." Crix merely rippled his tentacles in the Aquarian equivalent of a dismissive shrug. "Whatever primitive hunters they keep in their containment facilities, they can hardly compare to what we've described. This should be educational, if only to confirm our analysis." None of them noticed Professor Webb watching their exchange from the doorway, his smile growing incrementally wider. The following morning dawned clear and cool. A perfect autumn day in the Metroplex region. Students gathered in clusters outside the northeast entrance of the Metroplex Zoological Conservation Center, a sprawling complex that had evolved from the traditional zoos of the previous century into a combination of research facility, genetic repository, and interactive education center. Professor Webb arrived precisely at 0800, scanning his faculty credentials at the entrance terminal. The massive gates slid open silently, revealing the main concourse beyond. Holographic signage hovered at intervals, directing visitors to various habitats and exhibits. "Welcome to one of humanity's more enlightened institutions," Webb announced as the students filed in. The Metroplex Zoo houses over 5,000 species, many rescued from extinction through genetic restoration projects. It represents both our greatest ecological failures and our attempts at redemption. He led them past the general admission areas, swiping his tablet at a secured access point. The door displayed Educational Override, Web, M, Xenobiology 405, before sliding open to reveal a service corridor. "We're taking the behind-the-scenes tour today," Webb explained, leading them through the sterile hallway. Courtesy of some colleagues in the conservation department. Crix, Xena, and Vorak followed at the rear of the group, their postures betraying varying degrees of skepticism. The Aquarian's tentacles flexed impatiently, while Xena's wings remained tightly furled, a sign of restraint in her species. Vorak moved with the measured precision characteristic of Luxarians, his crystalline body reflecting the harsh corridor lights. "Professor," Crix called out, his translator carrying a hint of his native bubbling speech. "While we appreciate the educational opportunity, I fail to see how observing captive specimens will address our discussion from yesterday." Webb paused, turning to face the three exchange students. The human students had continued ahead, examining displays of veterinary equipment along the corridor walls. "Patience, Crix," Webb replied. "Zoo specimens are indeed a poor substitute for wild predators in their natural habitat. However, they retain the biological adaptations that made their species successful. Adaptations you seem to have dismissed rather prematurely." Before Crix could respond, Webb continued walking, gesturing for them to follow. "Besides, modern conservation enclosures are hardly cages in the primitive sense. You'll see." They emerged into a dimly lit observation room, lined with one-way transparent barriers. Beyond the barriers lay what appeared to be a section of dense forest, complete with undergrowth, a small stream, and scattered boulders. Sunlight filtered through a canopy of trees, creating dappled patterns on the forest floor. "This is one of our premier predator habitats," Webb explained, his voice dropping to a quieter register. "Environmentally controlled to replicate the Siberian taiga ecosystem, one of Earth's most challenging biomes." The students pressed closer to the barrier, scanning the habitat. It appeared empty. "I don't see any animals," one of the human students whispered. Webb's smile returned. "Exactly. That's your first lesson about Earth's apex predators. You rarely see them until they've already seen you." He tapped a command into the room's control panel. A subtle vibration passed through the floor, and a scent was released into the habitat, something organic and rich with iron. "A feeding trigger," Webb explained. "We've just simulated the presence of prey in the environment. Now watch carefully." For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, without warning or sound, a massive shape materialized from between two boulders at the far side of the enclosure. Several students gasped involuntarily. The Siberian tiger moved with impossible grace for its size, each muscle flowing beneath its striped coat with liquid precision. It paused, lifting its broad head to taste the air, revealing fangs as long as human fingers. Its amber eyes scanned the environment with predatory focus. "Boris," Webb introduced softly. "Male Siberian tiger, approximately 12 years old. Weight 320 kilograms. One of our genetic restoration successes. His DNA profile matches specimens from the early 21st century, before the subspecies was hunted to extinction in the wild." The alien students had gone utterly still. Crix's tentacles had knotted themselves together, an involuntary Aquarian stress response. Xena's wings trembled slightly, her bioluminescent patterns flickering in rapid sequences of yellow and white. Vorik's crystalline form had taken on a distinctly bluish tint, the Luxarian equivalent of a raised pulse. "Impressive specimen," Vorak finally managed, his translator failing to completely mask the tension in his voice. "Though size alone is not indicative of hunting prowess." Webb nodded agreeably. "Quite right. Allow me to elaborate on Boris's more relevant attributes." He activated his tablet, and a holographic display appeared beside him, showing anatomical diagrams of the tiger. "Siberian tigers represent one of Earth's most perfect evolutionary killing machines," Webb began, his tone shifting to academic lecture mode. "Their sensory adaptations include night vision, 6 times more acute than human baseline, capable of tracking movement in near-total darkness. Their hearing operates across a broader frequency range than most mammals, able to detect the heartbeat of prey at distances up to 150 meters under optimal conditions." The tiger moved again, flowing like water across the enclosure to investigate the scent source. Its movements were utterly silent, despite its enormous mass. "Note the acoustic stealth," Webb continued. "Specialized paw pads contain fatty deposits that absorb sound, allowing for silent stalking across even leaf-strewn terrain. Their striped pattern breaks up their outline in dappled light, an early form of biological cloaking technology, if you will." Xena's antenna twitched nervously. "These are impressive adaptations, Professor, but still within expected parameters for an evolved predator. Of course, Webb agreed. The physical attributes are merely the foundation. The cognitive capabilities are where things become interesting. He switched the display to show brain scans. Tiger neuroanatomy reveals problem-solving capabilities comparable to primates, combined with specialized neural pathways dedicated to hunting strategies. They are capable of complex ambush planning, including anticipating prey movement patterns and utilizing environmental features for tactical advantage. Crix's voice emerged, slightly constricted. You speak of them as if they possess strategic intelligence. Not in the way we define sentience, Webb clarified. But their hunting cognition represents a specialized form of intelligence nonetheless. Boris here can calculate jump trajectories, predict escape routes, and assess the weaknesses of prey animals, all without conscious deliberation. It's instinctual genius, honed by millions of years of evolutionary pressure. The tiger had settled into a sphinx-like position, facing the observation window. Though the barrier was one way, the animal's gaze seemed to fix directly on the watching students, creating the uncanny impression that it could see them perfectly. Are we visible to it? Vorak asked hesitantly. No, Webb assured him. But he can smell you. All three of you. Your species are unfamiliar to him, but he's categorizing you nonetheless, assessing whether you represent prey, threat, or something to be ignored. The tiger's tail twitched once, a languid movement that nonetheless communicated coiled power. Perhaps most remarkable, Webb continued, is their adaptability. Tigers have been documented hunting and killing adult crocodiles in water, bears in forested terrain, and even sharks that venture into shallow river mouths. They've been observed creating deliberate noises to lure curious prey, using terrain features to amplify their roars and disorient herd animals, and even demonstrating rudimentary tool use by breaking ice to access water. He paused, allowing this information to sink in before delivering his final point. They also possess something many would consider uniquely sentient, the capacity for vendetta. Vendetta, Xena's translator struggled with the concept. You mean revenge? Against what? Against whatever threatens them, Webb explained. There are documented cases of tigers tracking human hunters for days, sometimes weeks, after being wounded or having cubs threatened. They've been known to bypass easier prey to specifically target the human who injured them, waiting outside dwellings, following at a distance, and striking when the opportunity presents itself. The tiger rose suddenly, stretching its massive body to its full length. Several students instinctively stepped back from the barrier. They remember faces, Webb added softly. They remember scents, and they can hold a grudge longer than most humans. Crix's tentacles had gone pale, the Aquarian equivalent of blanching. Professor, are you suggesting that Earth's tigers would be capable of hunting the predators we described from our homeworlds? Webb shrugged mildly. An interesting hypothetical. The Leviathan crushers would likely have a size advantage, though tigers have been known to kill elephants through precisely targeted attacks to the spine and neck. The shadow wings might maintain their altitude advantage, but any forced landing would put them at severe risk. As for the diamond claws, he glanced at Vorak. Quantum entanglement is impressive, but a tiger doesn't need to outthink its prey's decisions if it can simply ambush it before decisions become relevant. He tapped his tablet again, bringing up historical images. More to the point, consider this. By the mid-21st century, humans had hunted tigers to near extinction across their entire range, not with evolutionary advantages, but with technology and persistence. The same humans who now maintain this facility as penance for that ecological crime. The implications hung in the air, unspoken but clear. If Earth's humans could drive such formidable predators to the brink of extinction, what did that suggest about humanity's own predatory capacity? Boris had moved closer to the barrier, his massive head tilted slightly, as if puzzling through the strange sense emanating from the observation room. His eyes, unblinking, ancient, coldly intelligent, seemed to look through the one-way material directly at the alien students. Xena's wings drooped noticeably, her bioluminescence dimming to a subdued blue. On my world, we celebrate the day our ancestors achieved the technology to escape the Shadow Wings hunting grounds. We never considered that the Shadow Wings might be hunted themselves. Vorak's crystalline form had shifted to a muted gray, a Luxarian expression of deep thought or reassessment. The statistical models I employed, they failed to account for predatory creativity and problem-solving. A significant oversight. Crix remained silent. His tentacles knotted in complex patterns of distress. Webb observed their reactions with the clinical interest of a seasoned educator, watching a lesson take hold. Let's continue our tour, shall we? The big cats are merely one branch of Earth's predatory tree. As they moved to exit the observation room, Boris suddenly rose and padded directly to the barrier, placing one massive paw against the transparent surface. The action, deliberate and calm, froze every student in place. The tiger's face was now merely centimeters from them, separated only by the specialized material between them. A low rumble emerged from the great cat's throat. Not quite a growl, not quite a purr. The sound vibrated through the barrier, raising primordial shivers across species that had evolved on entirely different worlds. Vorak, his crystalline voice unusually subdued, broke the silence. If tigers can outthink our deadliest hunters, and humans nearly wipe them out, what does that make you? Webb didn't answer immediately. He simply stood beside the barrier, regarding the tiger with a complex expression: respect, regret, and something like kinship passing across his features. It makes us dangerous, he finally said. Perhaps the most dangerous species you'll encounter in your diplomatic careers, which is precisely why the Galactic Council insists on educational exchange programs like yours. He gestured toward the exit. Come along. I believe you have some reassessment to do regarding Earth's position in the galactic predatory hierarchy. The students filed out in silence, casting backward glances at Boris, who watched their departure with the impassive patience of an apex predator, the confidence of a species that had perfected its role in the ecosystem long before primates had descended from the trees. In the corridor, Webb paused, regarding the three alien exchange students. I'll expect a revised analysis for tomorrow's class. Topic: Compatibility Assessment, Earth Predators and Galactic Council Safety Protocols. 5,000 words, with particular attention to the Council's existing species threat classification system. The aliens nodded solemnly, their earlier bravado entirely evaporated. As they rejoined the human students waiting further along the corridor, Webb allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. Teaching xenobiology was always interesting when the lesson extended beyond mere biological facts to the deeper implications of evolutionary psychology across species. Some lessons required experiencing the primal fear that had shaped intelligent life across the galaxy, the instinctive recognition of a perfect predator. The classroom atmosphere the following day was markedly different. Where the previous sessions had been punctuated by the alien students' whispered comments and occasional scoffs, now a respectful silence prevailed as Professor Webb entered the lecture hall. The three exchange students sat in the front row, their postures communicating a newfound attentiveness. Webb set his tablet on the desk and surveyed the room. I trust everyone has completed the assigned reflection paper on yesterday's field experience. A chorus of affirmative responses followed, notably more subdued than usual. Excellent, Webb nodded. Before we continue with our scheduled curriculum, I believe our exchange students have prepared presentations based on their revised analyses. Crix, would you care to begin? The Aquarian rose, his tentacles now arranged in the formal configuration, denoting academic seriousness. The moisture suit that contained his gelatinous form hummed softly as he moved to the presentation area. Thank you, Professor, Crix began, activating the holographic display. My analysis required significant revision following yesterday's observations. The display showed a comparative chart of predator classifications across various planets, with Earth now positioned considerably higher than in previous assessments. I have recategorized Earth's apex predators from Class 3 to Class 5 threat potential under Galactic Council guidelines, Crix explained, his translator conveying uncharacteristic humility. This places tigers in the same threat category as Aquarian Leviathan crushers, despite the significant size differential. He displayed footage from the previous day, focusing on Boris's silent movement patterns. The key factors influencing this reassessment include stealth capacity, tactical cognition, and cross-environment adaptability. While Leviathan crushers dominate aquatic environments through overwhelming force, they lack the versatility demonstrated by Earth felines. Webb nodded encouragingly. And your conclusions regarding interspecies contact protocols? Crix's tentacles shifted uncomfortably. The standard diplomatic approach to Earth requires modification. Current protocols underestimate both the predatory effectiveness of Earth's wildlife and, by extension, the evolutionary psychology of human diplomatic representatives. His final slide displayed updated contact recommendations. I suggest implementing Class 5 contact protocols, including enhanced threat recognition training for diplomatic personnel assigned to Earth stations. Thoughtful reassessment, Webb commented, as Crix returned to his seat. Xena, you're next. The lepidopter approached the presentation space with wings partially unfurled, their patterns now displaying scholarly blues and greens. Her antenna quivered slightly as she activated her prepared materials. My analysis focuses on comparative hunting methodologies, she began. I had previously categorized Earth predators as primitive, due to their reliance on physical attributes, rather than the specialized biological adaptations found in shadowwings. Her display showed side-by-side anatomical comparisons between tigers and her world's atmospheric hunters. This assessment failed to recognize the evolutionary elegance of Earth predator design, Xena continued. While shadowwings evolved highly specialized hunting methods for a specific ecological niche, Earth tigers represent generalist excellence, capable of success across diverse terrains and against varied prey types. She highlighted specific tiger adaptations: retractable claws, specialized dentition, muscular forearms, binocular vision. Most critically, I underestimated the cognitive component of predation, she admitted. Shadowwings rely primarily on instinctual hunting patterns, with limited problem-solving capacity. The observational learning and tactical adaptability demonstrated by Earth felines represents a more advanced form of predatory intelligence. Her conclusion slide displayed a formal recommendation. I propose that lepidopter diplomatic training include mandatory study of Earth predator psychology as a model for understanding human negotiation strategies. The parallels between tiger hunting behavior and human resource competition suggest valuable insights for interspecies relations. Webb nodded thoughtfully as Xena concluded, an insightful connection between biological imperatives and diplomatic behavior. Vorak, please share your findings. The Luxarian rose with crystalline precision, his form now displaying the deep purple coloration associated with serious academic discourse among his species. His presentation immediately displayed complex mathematical models. My previous statistical analysis contained fundamental flaws, Vorak stated without preamble. I based threat assessments on quantifiable metrics, mass, speed, sensory acuity, while failing to account for the multiplicative effect of integrated adaptations and behavioral flexibility. His models shifted, incorporating new variables labeled tactical cognition, ambush efficacy, and cross-predator success rate. When recalculated with these factors, Earth's tigers score 78.3% higher on the Predatory Success Index than my initial assessment. Vorak explained. This places them above diamond claw packs despite the latter's quantum-entangled hunting advantage. He displayed footage of Boris's seemingly casual inspection of the observation barrier. Most significantly, I failed to consider what might be termed predatory curiosity, the capacity to assess novel situations and species for potential vulnerability. This trait appears particularly developed in Earth felines and, by extension, in human behavioral patterns. His final slide displayed a starkly revised threat assessment. I have recategorized Earth as a Class 5 predator world with Class 6 potential. The implications for Galactic Council security protocols are substantial. As Vorak returned to his seat, Webb stood silent for a moment, allowing the presentation's implications to settle across the classroom. The human students appeared both surprised and subtly pleased by their planet's elevated status in their classmates' assessments. "Thank you all for your thoughtful reconsiderations," Webb finally said. "These presentations raise an important question beyond mere taxonomic classification, one central to our course's ultimate purpose. If Earth's evolutionary history produced such effective predators, and humans subsequently dominated those predators, what does this suggest about humanity's place in the galactic community?" A human student near the back raised her hand. "That we should be feared?" Webb tilted his head noncommittally. "Perhaps, but fear alone is a poor foundation for diplomatic relations." Xena's wings fluttered hesitantly before she spoke. "That humans understand predatory thinking in ways our species may not, having evolved in environments with less severe selection pressure." "An interesting hypothesis," Webb acknowledged. "Anyone else?" Vorak's crystalline form shifted to a contemplative blue. "That humanity's potential for both destruction and conservation requires careful diplomatic consideration. The same species that nearly eradicated tigers now maintains facilities to preserve them, suggesting complex and potentially contradictory behavioral imperatives." Webb smiled, genuinely pleased with the direction of the discussion. "Excellent observation, Vorak. And this brings us to the deeper purpose of yesterday's field trip." He activated the classroom display, showing images of historical tiger hunts alongside modern conservation efforts. Earth's relationship with its apex predators offers a microcosm of humanity's broader relationship with power. Webb explained. "Throughout our history, we've simultaneously revered and destroyed that which we fear. Tigers were worshipped as deities and hunted as trophies, often by the same cultures in different eras." He switched to footage of Boris in his enclosure, now sleeping peacefully in a patch of sunlight. The Metroplex Zoo represents humanity's attempt to balance these contradictory impulses, to preserve that which we nearly destroyed, to study that which we fear, to respect that which we once sought to conquer. Crix raised a tentacle. "Professor, does this suggest that humans view other galactic species through a similar lens, as potential threats to be respected but contained?" Webb's expression grew more serious. "A perceptive question, Crix. Earth's history with its own predators certainly influences our species' approach to interstellar relations. The Galactic Council's initial contact protocols recognize this psychological pattern, hence the emphasis on educational exchange, rather than merely technological or resource-based diplomacy." He closed the displays, addressing the class directly. "The Council's wisdom lies in understanding that meaningful diplomatic relations must account for the evolutionary psychology of each member species. Humans evolved alongside predators that could hunt and kill us, forcing the development of both respect for danger and the drive to overcome it." Xena's bioluminescence pulsed with realization. "This explains the seemingly contradictory human cultural attitudes toward power and vulnerability. Your species simultaneously celebrates both predatory strength and the protection of the vulnerable." "Precisely," Webb confirmed. "And this duality influences everything from our governance structures to our artistic expressions to our diplomatic postures." He returned to his desk, checking the time display. "For next week, I want each of you to analyze a specific aspect of human culture through this evolutionary lens. Consider how our predator-prey relationships might have shaped our approach to technology, art, ethics, or governance. As the students began gathering their materials, Webb added casually, "Oh, and we'll be continuing our field trip series next month. I've arranged special access to the honey badger conservation program." Vorak paused, his crystalline structure briefly flashing with uncertainty. Honey badgers? The name suggests a small, domesticated species. Webb's smile returned, carrying that hint of mischief the students were beginning to recognize. Oh yes, quite small compared to tigers, barely 12 kilograms at maturity, known for their charming appearance and tenacious personality. Something in his tone caused the alien students to exchange wary glances. "I sense there is more to these creatures than your description suggests," Crix ventured cautiously. Webb merely shrugged. "They're known to regularly drive lions, felids twice the size of Boris, away from kills. They've been documented surviving venomous snake bites that would kill most mammals instantly. And they occasionally hunt pythons for sport. Their skin is resistant to arrows and spears, and they've been observed using tools to escape enclosures." He began packing his tablet away. "But, as you noted, they're quite small. Nothing to concern advanced galactic species, such as yourselves." The professor departed with that enigmatic statement, hanging in the air, leaving the alien students staring after him with renewed apprehension. In his habitat at the Metroplex Zoo, Boris the tiger yawned widely, displaying teeth perfected by millions of years of evolutionary pressure. His amber eyes tracked the movement of birds outside his enclosure with the casual interest of an apex predator, not hungry, but never truly abandoning the instincts that made his species legendary. A zookeeper approached the habitat boundary, checking the environmental controls. "Had some visitors yesterday, didn't you, big guy? Professor Webb's xenobiology class." Boris blinked slowly in response, the gesture carrying the weight of feline communication, acknowledgement without submission, attention without concern. "Hope you didn't terrify the alien students too badly," the keeper chuckled. Though that's probably exactly what Webb was aiming for. The tiger stretched languidly, before settling back into the dappled sunlight. Indifferent to the complexity of interspecies diplomacy unfolding beyond his domain. He was, after all, perfectly content with his place in the natural order, a living embodiment of evolutionary perfection, neither burdened by nor interested in the philosophical implications of his existence. Meanwhile, across the Metroplex campus, 3 alien students found themselves viewing their human classmates with newly calibrated perspective, seeing for the first time the subtle hints of predatory heritage beneath the civilized veneer. The casual, relaxed confidence that might once have seemed like evolutionary complacency now revealed itself as the serene assurance of a species that had faced down its own planet's most perfect killers and emerged dominant. A species that now reached for the stars, not with the desperate escape velocity of prey, but with the measured expansion of a predator secure in its capabilities. A species worth studying very, very carefully indeed.